Welcome back to another episode of Endurance Icons, where we sit down with individuals crushing it in the wide world of endurance sports. And today on the podcast, we have fresh off a second place at 70.3 Los Cabos this weekend. Just must be fresh off the plane here, but we got Marc the Shark Dubrick, who's been crushing it in 2023. He's a professional triathlete, member of Team RTS. I think we've had almost the whole team on at this point, but they've been some of our favorite episodes for our listeners, so we're pumped to hop into all things triathlon with Marc today. How you doing, Marc?
Hey Mark, yeah, thanks for having me. Definitely still fresh off the travel and the race, still a bit sore, but excited to talk some triathlon and get to know you two a bit more.
So you just finished this weekend, sandwiched on the podium between two pretty solid guys, between Jason West winning the race, Jackson in third. Maybe give us a quick race recap of how the day played out for you.
Yeah, so my first time in Los Cabos, I kind of had some good background knowledge of just friends and teammates who had raced it before. But anytime you kind of go into a race, a new race, it's exciting, but you got to do a bit more homework. The swim, they didn't really have any sort of preview for us. It was just a classic like three turn ocean swim. Thankfully, no wetsuit. So classic move of mine is just kind of push the swim. If people want to hang on to my feet, they can try. But I got away there and but just like held back a little bit because in most 70.3, in every 70.3, you're never gonna win it on the swim. You can lose it, you can set yourself up to probably not have a great race, but you can set yourself up for a good race. So I made sure to kind of keep it probably at like a five out of 10 effort and just focus on the bike when I knew Jackson would come by. He's probably one of the strongest cyclists in the sport right now. Just came off of two really good 70.3s where he, outbiked Lionel and Trevor, who are, supposed to be some of the best. So that I think that makes Jackson one of the best. Um, and then Jason, of course, in there. And there was a bunch of other guys. So it could have formed into like a small little group on the bike where there's just like a chain of five or six guys, but I'm glad it didn't. And that's what I kind of came to this race for, and what made me really excited was the challenge of a smaller field, and I could really see where my bike has progressed over, just continually. Like at Worlds, there's a big group, because you do get you get a benefit even, in a bike group, even though it's non-draft. Second, third wheel, you're getting that benefit of a little bit of like draft from the people in front of you. And this one, I could have been solo the whole time. I could have been, in a group of five to whatever, but I'm glad it was kind of a mix of both, because it really challenged, and I got to see my bike legs come through a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
fun one to track. I wish they had the live video going for that one. It would have been a cool one to watch, all you guys
Oh
mixing it up
man,
there.
it would have been, yeah, it would have been a lot. It was definitely exciting. So it was in like it was like 2.5 laps on the bike, just like hot dog. That's what I say, hot dog style course. Really rolling. Like that actually caught me off guard. I think it was 2.5K or almost 3K of elevation change, or
Wow.
gain. I think gain. So a lot hillier than I was expecting. And then because it was so many laps, like we had the course to ourselves in the first lap and a half, but the last lap was just absolutely crazy because we only had one lane, and that was for age groupers as well. So you really had to keep your head up and stay focused, because with some bumpy roads, like bottles are flying, people are dropping chains left and right. There's like potholes. Thankfully, no dogs or anything. I've been to plenty of South American races where, you're dodging dogs and sometimes cars and people. And thankfully, all of that was, that wasn't a thing, and it was just dodging people. But no, it was really fun. This is like a licensed Ironman race, so it is technically Ironman, but it's run by different people, but they still put on a really great race.
Is there any wild stories you have from those South American races of seeing anybody run into a dog or anything?
Oh man, too many. Yeah, I mean literally every South American race I've done pretty much there's been like close calls with dogs, just cars popping out into the course. I had a race in Santiago, Chile, where someone actually hijacked or stole a car, and
Oh my gosh.
their escape route was onto the course against us, like against traffic. And I remember there was a live feed, and we didn't see it. We didn't see the car coming. I guess it had turned off before it got to us, thankfully. But I remember seeing the live feed after the fact, and my coach was there, and he said it was just like everyone was screaming like bloody murder, like just like all like it could have been horrific because it was over
Yeah.
this hill, and I guess he had turned off and like escaped some other route. But yeah, I mean there's just too many, and I actually Ben and I are gonna do a feature on some of these because he did short course for a lot longer than I did. He was obviously an Olympian, and he had to go through the Continental Cup grind because you want to get out of the Continental Cups quite a bit. So I guess that's kind of a good junction with like triathlon. There's short course, long course, but then within short course, the draft legal stuff, there's like Continental Cup, World Cup, WTS, and Continental Cups is just. I mean, it makes you tough, but you want to get out of those in and out as quick as you can and move up to the World Cup and WTS because they're kind of savage.
So were you focusing on short course like the last couple of years before you kind of made the jump to long course, or have you always been kind of dabbling between the two?
Yeah, I made the jump pretty much like officially made it earlier this year.
Nice.
I raced down in Chile again in February for two short course draft legal races. And that kind of was just like my last little straw. It didn't really go too well, and I had a mechanical at one and then just raced really poor at the other. But I had done a few. I had done 4 70.3s, I think, before this year. I did like 70.3 Maine was my first one. I did one in Memphis, and I had qualified for like the St. George World Champs, the 70.3 one last year. So I got a taste, and I was just a lot better at it. I think just my how I'm built, I'm just built more for 70.3, and eventually I'll move to the Ironman, but I gave it a go, and there was a few things that it didn't end as well as I wanted. Obviously, like my goal was the Olympics, so it sucks saying no to like that childhood dream of being an Olympian, but I have plenty of other goals that I want to chase. And long course, I just tend to be a lot better at it. I enjoy the community. Like Real Tri Squad is just absolute blast. And yeah, it's really kind of I got this little momentum, bit of momentum going right now. I'm just gonna keep pushing.
Yeah, it's been cool to watch you this year with that Alcatraz win and eighth at 70.3 Worlds, just second this week. Didn't you do some Super League in there this year? You've had like a wild year. What would you say are like the highlights for you?
Yeah, absolute wild year, and it's definitely not over yet. Which I'm excited. I'm not ready for it to be over, which is good. Being in November and still having that itch to
Yeah.
race. Yeah, I mean, Super League was a treat. I'd always wanted to do it. So Real Tri Squad sponsors or owns a team, the RTS Warriors, and they were focused more on having Americans, making as much of an American team as you can. So just being on RTS, and I was still kind of in the short course game. That kind of I had an opportunity to do the Toulouse, France,
Mhm.
and it was epic. I mean, I didn't do well, but I'm so glad I did it, and it was a treat kind of seeing how Super League runs an event and just how brutal it is. It was the weekend right after 70.3 Worlds in Finland. So, and I wasn't training for Super League. I was fully focused on 70.3. So, I wouldn't say I was the most prepared, but yeah, I mean, I'd still do it again in a heartbeat.
And with that 70.3 Worlds race, were you kind of expecting to land a top 10 in that race? Was that maybe on your radar, or what did that look
I
like?
Going into it, I thought I'd be happy with like a top 15. I was 22nd in my debut world champs, I guess, in St. George. But I really hadn't picked like anything place wise, definitely not like time wise, because in the pro field, like time really doesn't, you just dictated by who's there, I guess, and the weather and a lot of other factors. But I just wanted to just get in and race and finish as hard as I possibly could. And if I did that and gave 100%, I was just going to be happy with no matter what. So I just yeah, put myself in it, had a good swim, stayed in position, and stayed just really chill on that because I knew it was gonna. For me, I would gain much more by being like fresh on the bike than what you'd gain from trying to like win the swim. So I took a turn on the swim, just like I think there was 3 or 4 of us who ended up like taking the lead at some point during the swim, and then on the bike, yeah, just was smart. Um, the groups kind of came together around halfway, and I made a really good move tactically that set me up to kind of come off the bike not crazy far down. Obviously, I wasn't going to run for the win, but good enough to like have like decent legs, and I think I had the second fastest run of the day to run myself from I don't even know 20th or something to 8th. So I was stoked with that. And that was kind of, yeah, I'd say that's been the highlight of my year, besides Alcatraz. And it's definitely been the momentum builder for finding some sponsors and getting my kind of name out there in the 70.3 and PTO-ish scene, I guess.
You mentioned earlier that a lot of races you feel like you can't really win them in the swim. I almost feel like I remember watching Miguel Maddox's YouTube video and hearing Eric Lagerstrom talk about Alcatraz and how you like almost kind of won that race on the swim. I feel like that's kind of a cool one because you put like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
cool gap
yeah.
with them almost with the current. Run us through that day.
Right, so that one's a very, very unique distance. And there's so many unknowns about that race, like going into it, that it's just like it's just everything about that race is super unique. So the distance is, well, you don't know what the distance is for the swim because they just drop you like out by the rock by Alcatraz Island. And depending on the weather and the current, they kind of have like three different spots that they could drop you off at. So I think it was ended up being like a 30, I forget what the swim was, like 35 minutes.
Oh wow, so
I
long.
don't wear a watch when I race for the swim, so I didn't get the distance, but the current was pretty strong. And then the bike's 18 miles, but like crazy up and down elevation in San Francisco. And then the run is 8.5 miles and tons of up and down as well. You go up to the Golden Gate Bridge and then down again onto this beach, and then you have this crazy sand ladder. So you're running like total of like on sand, like maybe a mile and a half, and you have like this, I don't even know, 400-meter sand ladder. And at first I was like, I'm not sure if you guys have ever been to the dunes before. I was like,
Yeah.
it's just gonna be maybe some like actually I was expecting to be like just staircases with like sand kind of in between, and the wood is kind of just keeping the sand there. So I was thinking just like normal staircases. No, it's like legit just a ladder, like wooden whatever steps, but just like roped together, just like up against the sand. But it was more of a wall, I guess, and you're kind of like climbing. You have to go on all fours and climb up the sand ladder, and then you're not done climbing there. You have to another half mile of just almost straight up gravel like trail running. So yeah, if you can get on the start list, that is absolutely a bucket list race. They do a lottery system, so you can't just sign up. Like you submit your name and they randomly draw people for the
Yeah, it
age group
looks
fields
so
at
cool.
least. Yeah.
Definitely on my bucket list eventually. Just seeing all the videos and stuff in that race, it looks so epic.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, you're in San Francisco, so it's a cool place to race. I mean, it's hard to put on. Obviously, they closed down quite a few roads, and I mean, the pro field itself is pretty exclusive. They do like between 6 and 7 people. That's it. And they treat us really well. And I got like a last second kind of entry. I think someone dropped off, and I had sent an email because it fit really well into my schedule. And they're like, yeah, like if you can commit pretty soon, like you got it. And I said, well, yeah, let's go. I'm there. I'm yours. So I guess I made the most of it, and yeah, I'll be going back next year to defend the title, hopefully.
I was like, that's an understatement that you made the most of it. You won. Oh. So you mentioned your coach. You work with James Peterson. So talk to me about what have you learned from him? What is his approach like?
Yeah, so James Peterson, he's out in New Hampshire, and that's where. So I was with another coach kind of right away out of college, but then quickly switched to James, and I've been with him since. Yeah, no, absolute great coach. We've kind of grown together. I mean, he's not that old. He's maybe a year and a half older than me. And I think one of his best qualities is just like just being kind of brutally honest with things. Like he cuts straight to the point, and I think for growth, especially in sports, it's really good to look at your performance. It's like you have to see your progression. Obviously, you look back is great, see how far you've progressed, but then like also equally like look to the like what it's going to take to get to the level, like what your goals are. So it's going to take time. So we're always good at like um focusing like kind of on the present for training, but also knowing like that it's going to take a lot of time and effort and kind of consistent work over time to get to where we wanted to go. So he's really honest with stuff, and very smart and analytical about my training with like deciphering it. And but then we also have really just good communication. So for the past year and a half we've been remote, because I was doing New Hampshire and Florida, that routine, spring, summer, fall in New Hampshire. We had a group of like 6 or 7 of us, and then we'd go to Florida for the winter. So I just needed a bit of a change in my life. So last year I changed it up and went to Boulder and Tucson, and that's what I'm doing again this year or this winter. But no, he's been great. We've really obviously stepped it up this year with the long course stuff, but he's perfect for me. And yeah, we're not also like scared to try new things. So this year, not really a new thing, but like we focused quite a bit more on lifting. We found out I had some really weak hamstrings. There's a few other imbalances that we found out, but mostly the hamstrings. So we've really nailed a consistent and manageable lifting schedule that I think has really seen my biking kind of efficiency and speed and just ability to hold power over that 2-hour race progress even more.
So how did you find out that you had a weak hamstring? What was the test that you did for that?
Pretty simple actually. I mean, I was always battling some like hamstring glute stuff. But I was actually at WTCS. They change the name every year. Hamburg, so short course race last year. And I remember getting off the flight and my hamstrings were just like they just felt so weird. So when you go to those top races, the Team USA usually carries like a PT or a physio or something. And you did just like this, he just did like this little test. You know how like sometimes there's massage and then sometimes they like kind of have you resist and then you relax. And that's supposed, I don't know. So we did that one and like both cramped immediately. So then he's like, oh, that's weird. And then we just did a few other things. And yeah, he was just like, you should probably get that checked out, kind of thing. And then we just started lifting a bit more. And see, I don't do anything crazy because we don't want to like take away too much from the actual swim bike running. So we found a really good routine. It's super just quick. I usually go right after swims. Yeah, and I don't overdo it, but this off season I'll like pick it up. There's a timing for it, and yeah, we've kind of dialed some stuff in and gotten in a good routine.
So describe yourself as an athlete. So James is your coach. What would his perspective be on maybe your strengths and your weaknesses as an athlete?
I wish he could answer that. I'm sure it'll be a bit different because I don't like he can be hard too, like hard on you, which I like. Like it's good. Like I said, he'll cut straight to the point. Like if I didn't do a good workout, he'll tell me I didn't do a good workout. Um, but no, I mean I'd say I am pretty consistent. I am really good at judging like what my body needs, and I think that's also been like why I've been able to progress so well because it's in the end of the day it's like you're gonna race so much better when you're healthy. And James has like we both work together like feedback. I have to also like protect my body, so if I'm feeling something I'll tell him, where I think some people are a bit scared, but like in the end of the day you're gonna race so much better if you're 100% healthy than like a bit injured and maybe really fit. um so yeah, consistent and yeah, I'll just listen to my body and I like to go really easy. So you'll see me out there running 8 flat, 8:30 sometimes on easy days. And then because I'm able to then give more to those fast days. Same for the bike, I like my easy days and it seems to just give me a bit more on those hard days on the bike.
Love it. I figured if he was very direct with you, you'd have a good deal of self-awareness of like how you were as an athlete. So awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And I think everyone needs like that. It's your body and like your coach, like I trust him with anything. If he puts a training session in, like if he thinks I can do it, I could probably do it because there's
Mhm.
always that mental battle too in training. So there's that level of trust too with a coach. So he puts something in, I'm like, oh gosh, that's pretty fast. Or that's pretty heavy. That's pretty long effort. But we've been working together so long, and we've done so many different styles of workouts that like I like in the end of the day, if he thinks I can do it, I can do it, which is awesome.
That's amazing. And you mentioned that you're back in Boulder. Do you train with any training partners while you're out there?
Yeah, quite a bit. So no one from the same team is out here. So RTS is like call it a club. Like everyone's coached by a different coach. Today I swim with Leslie, so she is on RTS. Um, Not sure if you've interviewed Leslie Smith, and then we have Lisa. She just moved up to Fort Collins. I trained with Rudy Von Berg quite a bit, and then I was living with Rachel Olson and Andre Lopez, 2 other pros, for a while this summer. There's just so many people here. That you could just be out, like, on the weekends, you'll be out and you'll see, a handful of the pros, or you'll just see like 200 other cyclists on the weekends heading up for their long ride, or you go out for a long run. And even if it's cloudy, which it rarely is cloudy, you'll be out there and you'll see dozens of people out there just so active here. And it's pretty, like, motivating, honestly.
So on your Instagram, you tagged Team Psycho Triathlete. Say more about that.
Yeah, Team Psycho is it's a age group team that has this elite development funding. It's like funded from the members of the team,
Hmm.
and they really, really help me get through. It's for draft legal triathlon. So if you're focusing on trying to make it to the Olympics, so I'll be done with that at the end of this year. And no, absolutely amazing people on the team. Dee Dee Griesbreyer is one of the, like, captains, we could say, and then Karen Smyers is also another
Oh,
captain.
wow.
So 2 really big names of the sport. And yeah, they've helped me out so much, especially like a few, like, still really, like, I mean, any amount of funding helps me and sponsorship helps me, but especially when I was really, really new to the sport, they had, a bit of monetary support, but then also just a lot of, like, voices and ears to listen and, like, pick their brain, because they've been through it. I mean, Dee Dee's still competing. Karen, she's done pretty much every championship race under the sun and done really well at them. So it's just a good, like, resource to have as well. But yeah, it's a elite development, like, funding that helps people chase their dreams, essentially.
I love that. And you've talked a lot about, work with your coach. I'd love to dive in a little bit about your training non-negotiables. So in terms of, what is your stance on high volume versus intensity? Like, I know that you've made a lot of really incredible gains on the bike this year. So what do you chalk
Mhm.
that up to, and talk a little bit about your training?
Yeah, so I definitely am someone who would, like, always be better with a coach. I honestly sometimes don't even know, like, how many hours I do in a week. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, I just did 30 hours, I did 20 hours, or I did whatever. I did 12 hours on the bike. I mean, I'll sometimes look, but a lot of times it's just like, I just like to follow it. Like, my coach puts it in, I'll ask him some questions if I need to, and then I'll give him, like, the post workout kind of review, how I felt, what I thought. But honestly, like, sometimes boring is the best. Like, boring gets the job done. Boring is it could be the best for you. Like, I think a lot of athletes try to do these super, like, exciting training sessions, these mega weekends, and that's I think not necessarily the key to success. I think that because it's just like it's not consistent. Some people do it and they do it well, and then that obviously gets into, like, the personal aspect. Like, maybe it's really enjoyable, so then of course go do that group ride, because if it brings you joy and you really, really like that, it's worth fitting it in. But yeah, some, I guess, non-negotiables. I'm pretty flexible, honestly. Like I said, I think non-negotiable for me is the easy, like, the recovery days. So sometimes I like to do those alone, or if I have, like, there's a few people here who have very similar recovery or aerobic just steady days, and that's what does it for me, because I know, like, sometimes those are the most important days. It's easy to go hard. It's sometimes hard for people to go easy enough.
Yeah, well, that's when your body's absorbing the work. You have to go easy.
Yeah, exactly. And because recovery is, yeah, overlooked by a ton of people.
Totally. And what do you chalk your big bike gains up to?
Yeah, kind of just, I keep saying it, that consistency.
Yeah.
We've just been grinding away for I took my elite license in 2018, and I actually started pretty much cycling in 2018. I did a bit of triathlon growing up, mostly swimming, switched to running in high school, and then ran in college. But yeah, I really hadn't done much cycling, more than maybe an hour or two a week before 2018. So just, yeah, consistency, and then what I brought up earlier about the lifting, finding some imbalances, and I think that, like, focus on strength, and then when we did make the switch to 70.3, just those more focused efforts on the longer races just helped me hold the position for longer because aerodynamics is so important. And then because I'm working so hard on the bike, we're still working on the run, but it's like there's so many ways to get better. So like because I'm not getting off the bike as fatigued now I'm running better. Like I'm not doing anything different for the run necessarily, but it's kind of cool how that works.
Yeah, it is so cool. And you mentioned strength. So you said that really doesn't take like the front row seat because you're making sure you're swim, bike, run. But what does your strength program look like?
Yeah, so if I don't have any races coming up, I'll do like one small just body weight lift the week of the race, kind of just making sure everything's still activated. But I'll lift twice a week, usually right after a swim, and I'll just honestly so simple. I just like almost do the same thing every time. I'm doing different things like on those 2 days, but like a lot of single leg like squats. I'll do the hamstring machines and it's probably only like 30 minutes. I'll do like 2 supersets. I'll do some pull-ups, push-ups, core, some glute like band. I always have like one of those circle bands with me. I even leave it in my bag for like flying. So if I have a layover, I can still do some stuff. But yeah, super, super simple. And this winter, um, I'll probably follow something a bit more because I can afford to be in the gym a bit longer. It'll be my like intensity, I guess. So I'll just do kind of like base volume on the bike, and then the intensity of the workout would then switch to more on the lifting in the gym. And my Joe Skipper, a friend I met, obviously top triathlete, he started his own like lifting app. So I think I'm gonna give that a go. Just a little plug. I actually don't know the name of it, but it's really cool. I'm excited to try it out.
Oh my gosh, I'm still laughing. You're like, oh yeah, some guy I met, Joe Skipper. He's got this app.
Yeah, I just met him. We did Jackson and I. He had an extra room. I forget how this worked. So he invited Jackson to come to Font-Romeu, in France, before Worlds 70.3, and then Jackson invited me, and it was just an absolute blast. I never trained in Font-Romeu to altitude. I think it's at like 6,000, maybe just above 6,000 feet. So it was pretty high. But he is an absolute character. Yeah, it is fun. It is funny saying that. And like even going there, it's like I knew he was a character and he's so fun to train with. But then like Jackson's the same way. You kind of like sit back a little and you're like, wait, he's like top whatever 10 in the world. He's an absolute stud. But that's just like the person he is. Like he's very humble and but just gets shit done and is just really fun to be around. And yeah, Jackson's the same. Actually, all of RTS is very, very similar. Just really fun people to be around and very genuine.
Yeah, you definitely have a special culture for sure.
Yeah.
We've loved all of our interviews with the team. How about nutrition? What does your both day to day and then fueling for your workouts and races?
I say I have like as far as like a healthy scale, I'm pretty healthy. I don't go out to eat. That's partially financial as well. Um, but yeah, a lot of rice, a lot of pasta. It's definitely like making sure I have a meal, like a pre whatever workout fuel, meal, like whatever 2 hours or 3 hours if I have a run workout before, and then making sure to eat and have protein right after. I'm not vegan, vegetarian. I love just I have a very mixed and diverse like diet, I guess. Nothing specific there, honestly. I know that's not the most interesting answer, but yeah, just making sure to have the enough. Honestly, a lot like most days I'm just trying to eat as much as I can just
Mhm.
because I know I work out enough to do that.
Yeah, it's funny. The more conversations like this we have, like the themes are like consistency, like just show up and do the work, and then nothing special with the food. Like just keep eating enough. And
Yeah,
I feel like that's the most common answers. I'm just trying to over here trying to eat enough.
right. And I think there's steps to it. So if like you're consistently nailing your workouts, if you're having enough energy day to day, if you're sleeping well, if you get blood work and everything's fine, keep doing what you're doing. But like if you get blood work and it's obviously there's whatever you're messed up with iron or you need there's just so many resources out there, and I've had those done like I get blood tests probably 3 times a year and everything was pretty good. I was on iron a little bit, But yeah, I mean, if you see those with those blood tests, then obviously put in some of those whatever supplements or just real food by like cooking it on the stove. But yeah, I think it's very personal. But I also think if you're tired or there's something there, like definitely get it checked out and then take it more serious. I'm just not into counting things. I'll count carbs for like nutrition on the bike, but that's just different. And I usually err on the side of caution too.
Yeah. So what does your training nutrition look like?
Yeah, so I'll do a little plug here. I use Precision Hydration for almost everything. And I aim for like the 90 to 100 grams per hour during races. So they have this like just powder that has quite a bit of sodium as well. And I've gotten like a whatever sodium test. They just put this weird thing on your arm, makes you sweat, and then it like sucks it up and tells you what your like sodium rate is. So I know I'm like 1100 milligrams per hour per liter or something, however that works. And that's almost pretty exact. It's like exact for what their powder is. So that's really nice. And that's why their gels actually don't have any sodium, because it then lets people kind of personalize with other nutrition. So they can add that because they have little tablets. They have the standard like circle things you drop in your bottle. So they let you get personal with that, and you're not like forced to take a gel that has sodium where, you know, some people don't need it. I'll do their gels, and for the race, I'll actually do the gels in the bottle. So my
Interesting.
front bottle is just 3 gels, like squirted into it. They actually have a new one now. It's called the Flow Gel. It's
Yeah,
essentially the
it's a
same thing.
monster.
It's a monster, yeah. So that doesn't change anything for me necessarily because I'm still just I would just do the same thing and then dilute it with water. And then the other bottles I'll do just like the sodium powder to make sure I'm getting the correct sodium. And then on the run, I'll do a caffeinated gel. On the bike, I'll do a caffeinated gel as well. And then I'll do a little flask. I don't actually have it here. I did a podcast the other day, and I actually had all my nutrition here set out for the race. So I'm like just pulling it, like showing, like this is what I do, this is what I do. But yeah, just like a little running flask, like what would go in like a run belt. I just kind of carry it, and I have that filled with, I think 100, just over 100 milligrams of maple syrup. Just super easy I like the taste, and it's just every kilometer my watch beeps during the race, and I'll take a sip, and I'll put roughly 500 milligrams of sodium in there too, just to make sure that's all kind of topped off. But
Been hanging out with the Canadians too much. Maple
hanging
syrup's
out with
in
the
there now.
Canadians too much. Yeah,
It's
I know.
working.
I got that idea actually from Lionel. So I
Yes.
saw him. But it also tends to be the cheapest because nutrition is actually just crazy expensive.
It is.
I'm lucky that I work with Precision. But I mean, yeah, it is expensive, and I think everyone's like, "Oh, it's like you're gonna rot your teeth or whatever." And I mean, maybe I will, but it's just like most nutritions have a ton of sugar, anyways. It's just yeah. So if you go to Costco, I think it is proper maple syrup. It's real. It's from Canada or Vermont, and it's like $12 per like whatever it is. That's definitely the best dollar per carb, nutrition you can get.
Yeah, we definitely use it around here for sure. And so I use Precision as well. We both do.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
did
seeing
this.
the medals and the awards in
Oh,
the back.
They're
So how
they're
many have
all
you guys
Jess's.
done?
It's fine.
Tell me about them.
Oh, that's another podcast. I'll tell you all about them.
Okay.
But no, for Kona, they did the sweat testing. So I did it right before to get the number. And I'm a very low sweater. So I think
Low
I'm about
sweater.
half of what you are. But I still took a ton of salt in the race, I was grateful that they had the high salt count. But it's good that I'm not ODing now on salt. So
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that they offer that. It's so great.
No, it's good to have those answers because Jackson was the same. He was pretty low, I guess. And when he started getting the correct amount, like he lowered it, he just ended up feeling a lot better because he would always have some like gut issues. And I guess that really helped him with that
Yeah.
answer.
And so we've talked a lot about nutrition. How about your recovery? So I know you like to, you're good at training easy, which I think is a huge uphill battle for a lot of athletes. So I think that's such a good example to our listeners of that, Even top triathletes go easy on their easy days. But what other things do you do for recovery, like sleep?
Yeah, I try to be as disciplined as I can with sleep. I should definitely do a better job of that. I just try to like lie to myself that I'm not gonna get like the benefit of the workout unless I like nail the sleep. So I get in bed and usually lights out at like 10, but or 10:30ish. But I don't like waking up early, so I'll wake up at like 8:30. So it's a good amount of sleep.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, nothing special there. I like my sleepy time tea, and there's actually which is where I do a lot of my workouts. There's a place in Boulder. It's a perfect 1 kilometer around this the Celestial Seasonings, the like tea company, if you know it. So I support the local tea company, and I do like tea before bed usually and a little magnesium. But other than that, nothing special. I roll out, massage gun, Normatec, just the classic stuff. I don't overdo Normatec, usually just on like Tuesdays and after long rides or long runs. But yeah, nothing special there. Some protein after. Yeah, I feel like I'm just pretty standard, honestly. I'll now that I'm winning a bit more prize money, I'll go to get a massage maybe every other week or every third week, maybe.
Mhm. Well, you don't need to do anything special and reinvent the wheel. Like the standard practices and foundations are there for a reason. It's because they work.
Yep,
But
because they work.
yeah. So as someone who is working very, very hard in improving on the swim, you are called Mark the Shark. You're an incredible swimmer. I'd love to know, what are some of your swim tips for triathletes in terms of volume? Are there drills? What's your secret to success in swimming?
Oof, I wish there was a secret, like a one thing that would just make
Yeah, what's the
everyone.
one thing we can do to be able to swim like you?
I'll do it tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, write this down. Um, it is tough. This one's tough because it's very like where you live kind of thing, and I don't even have it here in Boulder or Tucson. It's just open water swimming. I think a lot of people just aren't able to do that enough, but I would say that's gonna really, really help your. Obviously, we swim open water, but just your skills because you're not ever resting on a wall. You
Mhm.
have to sight. You don't have the line on the bottom of the pool. You don't have clean water. You don't have lane lines. So that's just going to make you so much stronger as well. And then it forces you to sight. It forces you to like lift up your hips, have good form eventually. So that's one thing I think people should do more of. And there are a lot of things you can do in the pool to prepare for those races. And some of that would just be like sighting. You just like sight for one of the blocks or the clock or something while you're swimming, once per 25. And try not to do straight forward. Try to do like the lane over. Look for the block in lane 1 if you're in lane 2 or 3. Look for like the other side of the pool. Because when you're sighting, like most of the time you might be straight, but probably not because that's why you're sighting. So yeah, practice like kind of looking to the side. And then if you have a friend, so if you two go swimming, one of you stops at the tee, don't touch the wall, and then you like rotate kind of around like you're practicing rounding a buoy. So it's a bit aggressive because it would be a full U-turn. But it's good practice because then you're not pushing off the wall, you're not stopping, and then it's just kind of fun. But the person who pretends to be the buoy sometimes gets kicked, so you got to be careful.
Just like a race sim, exactly.
Yeah, just like a race sim. But as far as like stroke stuff and drills, I think there's definitely a time and a place. I really enjoy putting the buoy at my ankles or doing the buoy at the hips with a tube or a band at the ankles. Um, that really kind of forces you to think about lifting the hips and having like a good rotation, which then extends your stroke. I mean, if you're able to reach whatever and even an inch further before you start your stroke, you multiply that by
Mhm.
however many strokes you take. That's going to be substantial. And then if you can just like get a little stroke analysis, have someone just put a phone, if it's waterproof, hopefully, or a GoPro in the pool. um, I've started doing this for people is just yeah, send it to the coach or send it to someone, and it's so much easier to look at your stroke or analyze your stroke when you have it in slow motion.
Do you do much work with like paddles in the pool, like strength swimming stuff?
Yeah, I freaking love paddles. That's actually my
Mhm.
favorite.
Amen.
And yeah, bigger is not better. So like I do have pretty big paddles. I also have small paddles, But yeah, if your form can't handle it, like you need to start smaller and make sure you're keeping the form first, or else you're just gonna ingrain this poor form. A lot of people get these big paddles on, and then you see it right away. They'll like bring their elbow first because they can't keep the high elbow catch. But I freaking love paddles. There's the like lat zone. That's what I always joke about. Like, all right, guys, it's lat zone time or whatever. No, yeah. So my main sets will be like on Tuesdays, and we'll do, standard ones like 20 by 100, and then usually short rest. So it'll be like anywhere from like like when you leave is on like the 115 or something, and I'll usually hold like between 58 to like a minute unless I'm at altitude, and then after that, get a little break, and then we go straight into like 10 100s pull. Not hard, but not easy. And that really gets the lats.
It's crazy to me how much strength you can maintain with just like swimming. So I eased up this year in the gym doing upper body because like you got to focus on the sport first. But now that I'm in my foundation season, I'm going back to the gym, and I'm finding that just through almost swimming alone, I'm stronger in my upper body than I like when I left. Like I can do pull-ups, and it's like 100% because I like doing the paddle work. Like didn't lose any strength at all. So yeah, like that the paddle work it's no joke.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it can be hard on your shoulders, and but if you can handle it, then yeah, it's great. And then just it translates over. That's why I still like have quite a bit of yardage in the pool, because I just see it translate over, and it's no injuries. I mean, of course you can get like some shoulder stuff or whatever, run into someone or run into the wall, but like no impact, no cars, no whatever, rolled ankles, and then you just get this awesome benefit of just from the swimming. So that's why we keep that up quite a bit.
Especially, I find the paddle stuff is so good. Like, I think it's good for all triathletes, but so good for age groupers that are typically in a wetsuit swim too. Like you guys usually don't have the luxury of being in wetsuit in the pro field, but like age groupers in a wetsuit that usually don't have a very good propulsive kick anyways, if you can be crazy strong with that upper body pull, it's just massive.
And I will say, like, so I grew up swimming, and until like I don't even know, 4 years ago or 3 years ago now, I actually like could barely do a 50 kick, like with a kickboard without being tired. I was always just doing like breaststroke kick for some reason. So when I broke my hand, I was forced myself to do flutter kick. And that actually has been probably the biggest thing for my swimming. And I don't like push the kick that much more, but at the starts now I'm not as tired from it. So I have it and I can use it if I need it. But so it helps my like get out speed, and I think that's kind of overlooked thing. A lot of people are like, oh, you don't want to tire your legs out, but if you're getting tired, like maybe add that in for practices and just strengthen that side. You don't have to use it, but when you do, it's not going to tire you out as much.
Yeah, we've finally given in to our master's coach, who's just like makes us do long kick sets, and we got rid of our fins, and we're like, we're just in it now this time of year.
Yeah,
It's actually
just
crazy how much better we're getting.
Yep, it
Crazy.
sucks. It really sucks. That burn is just like nothing else, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. So I noticed after your Font remote camp there, you went to Ironman World Champs in Nice, and you got to take that. And what was that experience like? And did it give you any itch to want to do the full Ironman distance yet?
Yeah, it gave me a little itch. Yeah, I went Font Remo and then Lati, and then I did the Super League race, and then I took a little break and went to Nice because it was only 4.5 or 4 hour train ride from where I was for that Super League race. Oh man, I'm so glad I stayed. So my first full Ironman World Champs. Of course, it wasn't in Kona, but it was pretty epic. I wanted Jan Frodeno to win, of course. Just wanted him to end it on a high note. But I also took a little break, so I had a good amount of time to. I mean, I still biked quite a bit. Just that area is like just world class for cycling. Just enjoyed it, and yeah, it gave me a little itch to do Ironman, especially now with this like series that they're gonna do. But then at the same time, like with the series, it's like that's three. If you want to do well, you have to do three because the way they're scoring it. So now I'm like, okay, I don't know if my body's ready for that. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go for one. What like if I get injured now, I can't do anything. So yeah, I'm still definitely on the fence. Because the pay is like 1 through 10 is pretty good. 1 through 7 I'd say is pretty good, and then um like 11th through 50 is 5K. And I think if you want a shot at even like getting in the top 20 or 30, you're gonna have to do 3 Ironmans, which is just so much.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. A lot of the pros I've seen this year have done like 3 or 4. I don't know how their bodies are holding up. I saw like
Yeah.
Sky this last weekend, like two
Yeah,
weeks
yeah, yeah.
post Kona or something. She goes and runs her like best Ironman marathon. I'm like, how is this possible?
Right. And yeah, some people are just made for it. They've got the recovery
Yeah.
dial. They just have the like the mechanics, the fit, the everything, to where they're not sore. Like or they just been in the sport, because it does take a while, like in the body, the legs, the feet, everything kind of like you could just say calloused or whatever, just your bone and muscles ready for it. But it's pretty crazy. Like I'm sore from the 70.3, and 70.3 to full, like obviously it's just it on paper it's just double, but it's definitely not the feeling of double. Like just everything is just turned to a whole nother level.
Yeah, systemic torch from that. It's
Right. But one day I'll do it. I don't know if it'll be next year, but maybe the following year. Look
yeah,
to qualify for
it's
Kona.
definitely got to be appealing for a long distance Ironman athlete, just because like the points are so heavily weighted for those Ironman races. Like I think it's something like until you're like over 40 minutes behind the win, then it's like
Yeah.
essentially equal to winning a 70.3.
Exactly. Sorry, this cat. I'm house sitting right now. I'm a professional house sitter, as of recently. So this cat is now wanting attention. So if it meows, I'm sorry.
We have a dog doing the same thing right now, don't you worry.
Yeah.
I just had my hand licked by the dog.
Yeah, you
Don't
saw
worry,
me lead over.
we're a cat friendly podcast. Don't you worry.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I've been leaseless for like a year and a half now. I do have a small lease in Tucson every winter when we go down there with a few friends, other pro triathletes. But since Boulder, yeah, I like just been bouncing from extra room to extra room, and then I stayed with someone, and then they kind of told their neighbors that I was like available. So now, yeah, now I'm available for dog sitting, cat sitting, and it works out honestly, because I'm not ready to get a lease anywhere.
I love it, the pro triathlete grind.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, a lot of people say like, doesn't it suck moving? And I mean, or like moving a lot. And I mean, it does kind of suck not having like a home to come home to after like a big travel or whatever. But also like it's much more affordable. Like I went to Font I went to Europe for 2 months. Like I was paying Airbnb over there, and I didn't have to pay any rent here. So that was obviously huge, and probably the only way I was able to financially do that trip. And then same for just like enjoyment of training. Boulder would definitely be doable. It's beautiful here in the winter, but it does obviously snow. It gets cold. You have to be flexible with your training, which obviously is always a good thing. But Tucson is warm or warmer, and I enjoy that so much more. So that's why I go to Tucson.
Talking a bit about support there. So we talked a bit about RTS before, but maybe tell us a little bit about more about how they've kind of helped your career as a pro. So is this your first year with them?
Yeah, it's my first year. So even before like starting this year, they were fully on board with my short course like aspirations, which was great. So they're obviously supportive, just with teammates, with people, with the resources they have, and then also we have like the team sponsors, and there's the support there. There's the ability to like get money based on performance. And then now, yeah, we've kind of branched off to so much more. It's crazy. It feels like I've been with them for so much longer, and I really, really enjoy everyone on the team. There's 5 of us down in Cabo, and there'll be, I think, 5 of us in Indian Wells, or maybe even more. But no, just an absolute amazing team, and I think we're gonna go to some really cool places and we're branching into obviously Super League and then that leads us to like U.S. development stuff for the short course. We have an age group team that we're growing, and then that leads us into coaching. That leads us into all these camps. We're going to Cozumel, which is in January 17th. We're doing a camp, and this is open to everyone, and we'll do like you can train with us, of course, but we're also doing like coach like sessions. We can do anything that kind of like whatever the people coming, they can kind of request it and we'll deliver, because we're just like it's that like ratio of like all of us want to help, and there's not that many of us. We're not a huge team. We're like the perfect size, I guess. But yeah, no, it's just a blast, and everyone's kind of driven both like athletically, but outside, and have these other goals that they want to accomplish.
Yeah, RTS stock is on the rise for sure.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I saw that Cozumel post. I was messaging Nick about that after. I'm like, oh man, I kind of want to come to this camp. I'm definitely considering it. It looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, and perfect time of the year. It's end of January, usually when people are, get through the holidays fine, and then everyone's like, okay, when's the cold gonna be over? And
Yeah.
it's in Cozumel, you don't got to worry about it. So
Exactly. I think Jess was supposed to be away sometime around then. I'm like, well, I need to leave then too, obviously. And what better spot to do a tri camp in Cozumel with a bunch of
yeah.
athletes that are stronger than me? Way better.
Where do you guys live?
We're in Waterloo, so we're like 20 minutes west of where Jackson lives.
Oh, nice. So Waterloo, not in Wisconsin.
No.
No.
We did Ironman Wisconsin one year and it was so weird. We went there and like one of our friends was wearing like a something
It was
Waterloo.
with Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a weird Waterloo shirt. And we're like, wait a second, there's a Trek
There's a-
Waterloo too. Very confusing moment.
That's funny. So yeah, just what Jackson's in like Guelph, right?
Yeah. So they're
Yeah.
our neighboring town to Waterloo.
That's funny. So is
Yeah.
it pretty cold right now for you guys?
Yes, it's cold. It's
Yeah.
gonna be
My
I don't
sweater didn't give it away.
Yeah.
I don't
You
know
can
what
do
it's gonna be.
Celsius for me. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be like -8 in the morning when we're running
Oh
tomorrow.
man. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, we have a little cold front too. Not quite 8, but I think it'll be probably like 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. Oh, even colder actually probably in the morning for us. But the sun is just super strong here in Boulder, which is great.
So when do you head to Tucson officially then?
Tucson won't be until like middle of December,
Okay.
but on Friday or Saturday, I haven't decided yet. I'll be driving to St. George where Nick Chase lives,
Nice.
and then I'll be with him, and then Jackson will actually be coming down in a few more weeks, and then we'll all drive to Indian Wells. So Indian Wells is my next race, and then we'll both, or the trio of us, will go to Salinas for the Challenge Ecuador race, right, the weekend following Indian Wells.
Nice. So those are your final two for the year?
That'll be it. Yeah. So I've raced quite a bit, but time in Nice, I had a little break. So I really do break it into 2 seasons, and you kind of have to. I mean, you definitely need a break from training. You definitely need a mental break. And yeah, that was perfect for me, especially a championship race. It like fires you up to train.
Mhm.
Like you never like could imagine. So yeah, I'm really excited to have 2 more still. And then hopefully, obviously, hopefully they go well, and then we'll have a good downtime, a well-deserved downtime, and then get ready for next year.
So did you decide on kind of what your focus is for next year? You said you're not necessarily ready to go Ironman yet. Is it like PTO focus? Or are you trying to get back to 70.3 worlds? Do you know yet?
Yeah, so in Cabo, I got the 70.3 world slot. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so that I mean that one is almost certain, like 70.3 worlds. Just it's in December, and they have yet to have a PTO race that late.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a bit too early for me to decide. The Ironman stuff I know is gonna be a stretch, like the full Ironman. I think even one would be tough, and then let alone, 2 others, and then 2 other 70.3s. But yeah, I don't know. We haven't heard much about the PTO series. I think they've announced 2 now. Ibiza is in September, and then I think Singapore they announced is in like April. So we'll see. Definitely Alcatraz in June, and then a lot of people open up in Oceanside, which is in April. Is it 70.3 Oceanside, I think, is always in April. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. 70.3s, and then some of the fun stuff like St. Anthony's is an Olympic non-draft in February. And yeah, just stay flexible, and I think that's the best way to do it, especially when you don't have all the answers or all the full schedule yet.
Yeah, totally. I want to give a plug to your new podcast you and Ben Kanute have been doing on a Triathlon Hour there. What can people expect if they're listening into that one if they haven't already?
Yeah, it's been really, really fun. Definitely challenging for me. Like I can sit and talk triathlon a lot of times, but yeah, I like public speaking and stuff. So when you asked me that, you know, I immediately said yes because I knew it was a great opportunity. But then I'm like second guessing it the whole time. But I'm glad I stuck with it because that's something I want to keep working on is just talking. It's not, it is public speaking, but not really. But yeah, you're definitely gonna focus on American triathlon, American triathletes in a way. I mean, we'll do race recaps and race previews as well, and we'll obviously talk about all the top triathletes in the world. But we definitely want to focus and give credit to all the like U.S. triathletes who are doing really well, because sometimes they're just not covered. I mean, we'll talk about like Florida. Obviously, we record on Wednesdays, so our stuff tomorrow is going to cover the amazing races down in Florida with like Rudy and Sky, and obviously they get the headline. But we'll dive into a lot of the people who may not have gotten the publicity that they deserve, and they probably had like breakout races, and they're maybe in, you know, 5th to 15th. And yeah, we want to definitely give them some shout outs.
I love that. I think that's so tremendous. So thanks for doing that. We'll keep listening along.
Yeah, and
Um,
then of course we take tips and we take like questions, and we're always looking for things to talk about. So I did a little bit of my journey last episode, brought you through like starting as a swimmer, running in college, doing the short course scene, and then now long course. And then we'll also like soon touch on Ben's path, which is a bit different than mine. He did short course very successfully, and he obviously is doing long course equally successfully. But he didn't do, like, do a collegiate sport, and it's not necessary. I mean, there's so many different paths to get to triathlon. But yeah, we kind of like to talk about anything. So if you guys have any questions, we can do that too.
Sweet.
we'll send them on through.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about a few of your plans for next year, but what's on your bucket list? And let's start with next year, and then say anything beyond that that's on your bucket list.
Yeah. So the bucket list would just be like the PTOs. If I can get like a guaranteed spot to the PTO races, that would be amazing for me, because they are doing salary. So obviously, if you can get a salary from the sport, that's the goal. And then obviously the like bonus, or the like performance stuff, yeah, the prize money, that's like, that would be like year-end bonus and stuff. You don't want to rely on that. That's just the extra stuff, the fun stuff. um but yeah, that'd be really fun, because then I don't need to do a full. I don't have to worry about being ready to race a full. And then yeah, just keep progressing um in the sport. Yeah, I don't know, it's so far ahead. I really haven't thought about it, but defend the title in Alcatraz. Yeah, and just get my bike a lot better. Hopefully get some wind tunnel testing, and maybe get yeah, hopefully I can be one of the top cyclists in the sport. Why not?
Well, you're well on your way to that. And I always love to ask this question. Like, why do you do triathlon? Like, what is it about triathlon that draws you to it and keeps you going?
There's a lot to it, and just sport in general. That's just very like, it's that delayed gratification. So there's a lot of like, obviously it's tough because you're not seeing your hard work pay off right away, but the what you get from it later on is just even more of a high. But no, it's just like just chasing my dream. This is a dream job, being a professional athlete. So just living the dream. I mean, obviously it has its ups and downs, with injury, with whatever, with, you know, it's not necessarily the most financially like, it doesn't pay the most, but it's, yeah, I'm just living the dream, chasing it, learning, working out, meeting some great people, and I get to travel the world as well. So that kind of keeps me driven, because I want to just keep doing it as long as I can. Hopefully I can also convince or help people get into the sport and show them how great it is. I mean, it's swim, bike, run, all the stuff by themselves are also great, but together I think there's a good community. So hopefully I can build that.
Well, that's a darn good why. So we invite you on the show because you're our endurance icon. Who's yours?
I have a few. For a while it was Steve Prefontaine, when I was just a runner. You know, he races from the front. Yeah, he's got some great quotes like, if you give anything less than the best, you're sacrificing the gift.
That's what's right behind Jess's
Yeah,
head here on the
exactly.
wall.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then yeah, I mean, racing this year it was extremely cool to race Jan Frodeno, someone he's not old, but like old for a pro, and he's just been at such a high level. He's obviously had a lot of bumpy like injuries, and just a bumpy road lately, but just like how he puts it together on race day is really cool. So watching him and seeing how he handles himself on race days was awesome. And then when I was living with Rachel and Andre, we were neighbors with Tim O'Donnell. So just like an American kind of person who's just been top of the sport. Absolutely great guy and great dad. So kind of riding with him and picking his brain and just like seeing his like how he handles himself it was really fun.
I still think one of my favorite reels I've seen of this year is that one with you and Jan at the US Open. You're like,
And
hey,
that
can I
wasn't
do a swim
staged.
start with you?
Yeah, that was real. Like I don't think he heard me right because he ended up apologizing, and I was like Jan, like seriously, I don't care. That was really funny. Like we need this kind of. Actually, like Talbot apologized too for the video, and I'm like, no, we need this kind of like this is good. Like
Yeah.
I can handle that kind of. That's what we need. It's good. It's good fun. And then Jan ended up apologizing. He's like, dude, I kind of heard you like lost sleep or something. And I heard you were really sad about that. I'm like, no, like I don't know who you heard that from. That's like the opposite of what I was. I thought it was hilarious, and like I was like, thank you for the 100 followers because I got just like so many people like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? No, it was a really awkward encounter, but it ended up just being really funny.
Yeah, I feel like we do need, and as somebody's a fan of the sport, I didn't see that and be like, oh, that was so condescending towards Mark. I was like, that's just hilarious. Like clearly there was a miscommunication. You
Yeah,
didn't
there's
mean
100%
any ill will.
miscommunication. Yeah, because in short course, like it looked like he was getting ready to start, but in like the draft legal races, you have the course preview and everyone kind of just like joins in with other countries or with people. Because like doing a start on your own is good, but it's not like at all what the race
Yeah.
like the races. So it's just more fun doing it with someone else. So I was like, oh, I know this guy. I kind of work for him. I work for Magic 5, by the way. So it's like
Okay.
he's a part owner. But that's not why I went up to him. I was like, he just looks like he's gonna do a start. So I just asked him, and yeah, he definitely didn't hear me.
That's all right. You backed it up and you were out in the first swim pack with him anyway. So if anyone was doubting you before, they weren't doubting you after.
Right.
I do think that's a good point though. Like I think that triathlon ends up being this like very earnest sport. So I love how there's this growing trend of like I just love when something big happens in the tri world and then there's just memes everywhere. Like
Yep.
I think we do need that humor just to keep things light.
On your left, leading the way.
Yeah, on your left. Yeah, and that was like Joe is kind of the like epitome of that too, Joe Skipper. And I think it is a like a British thing. They just give shit all the time. It's like super lighthearted and it's never personal, or at least they don't mean it that way.
No.
Or
Tune into
kind of, but
Triathlon.
it's not like a fight. And in America, I don't know, this is obviously very general. It's just like I don't know if everyone just treads so lightly. But no, I enjoy the banter. I think it's good and it just makes things more fun.
Totally. So for people who want to follow your journey, where's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, Instagram is probably the best now. Real Tri Squad obviously posts quite a bit about everyone. And then might begin the YouTube channel back. I haven't posted for like 2 years. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, probably Instagram and then on the podcast, the triathlon show. You can obviously go to the Triathlon Hour with Jack and you'll find us also plugged on there at some point. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Instagram's the best way.
Amazing. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was such a blast.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was really fun. And obviously, I'm excited to keep up with your guys' podcast from here on.
Wow. How great was that? I always learn so much from these endurance icons. If you enjoyed the podcast as well, please consider liking us across social media, subscribing to us on YouTube, or giving us a 5-star rating on wherever you listen to your podcasts. We appreciate you and your support so much. We wish you happy training and we'll see you back next week.